I don't know. We'll see how this goes, right? Maybe I'll use you guys. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But let's talk about document analysis right now. All right, make sure I can share with the sound on. Okay, so document analysis is the next step of you guys working with documents for the DBQ. We've already touched on, making an argument, understanding what the document is saying, and kind of forming an argument with that. The next step is to be able to start to gain some more of those points that are on the rubric, just to show you guys, and you guys can see the rubric on your screen, correct? It's being shared. Okay, good. I'm making sure I'm doing the right thing here. One of the things that we're going to see later in a video is he's going to say some incorrect information. There are 2 analysis points. Now, when we went through this, I told you that one of those analysis points is the unicorn point. Okay, that's the complexity point. I don't want you to worry about that one as much. However, I do want you to worry about this point right here. It's called the analysis and reasoning point. Okay, this is where you're going to do for 3 documents. You're going to kind of explain how the author's point of view or purpose of the document, the historical situation or audience is relevant within your argument. Okay, it's just analyzing the document. Another name for analyzing is sourcing. Okay, you got with me still right now? Sourcing is analyzing, analyzing is sourcing. So if you hear those 2 things, they're the same thing. Okay, so if you do that with 3 documents in a DBQ, you're going to get a chance to earn that point. Every point matters with a DBQ. Every single point matters. In order to introduce you guys to the concept, of analysis, I'm going to give you guys something nice and easy to work on. And that's something right here. Okay, you can find this on my website in the DBQ section in that file that I keep on showing you guys. This right here is generally what I do to warm up you guys, to show you how analysis is kind of done. All right. Now, before we get into how you use it with historical documents, let's just look at these. Okay, this is a first day of school point of view sort of activity I like to do. Now, as you read these documents, and we're going to go through them together, I want you to ask yourself certain questions. And it really comes back to, why are they saying what they did? All right, why are they saying this? What's the motivation behind it? What may be the purpose of them saying this? Who are the audience? Does it matter that that person is the audience? What analysis is trying to do is to take one step further. Not what is in the document, but what kind of inferences can you make and what could change as a result of the analysis that you are doing. Okay, let's take a look at Kate Naka. All right, she's an experienced AP World History teacher who has worked for many years in the prestigious Bel Air High School. By the way, if Bel Air sounds familiar, that's like straight from the Fresh Prince. That's Prince Bel Air. Okay, glad y'all caught on to that. The prestigious Bel Air High School, teaching history to sophomores in an email to her co-teacher, Mr. Peak. Email is important right there, but you'll get there. I want you to read what she is saying and then ask yourself the questions. Why are they saying what they did? Why is she saying it? It shouldn't take you too long to read that, but why is this teacher saying what she did? Can we answer me this question? Why are they saying what they did? Go ahead, Psalm. Okay, so he's saying that she thinks they're immature and it bodes ill for the rest of the year. What he is saying is what is in the document. I'm asking you, why are they saying what they did? Rakaya, it's right there on the document. Why are they saying what they did? Why is Kate Naka saying this? In an email, again, says it right there, in an email to her co-teacher, Mr. Peak. Yeah, why are they saying what they did? Okay. Maybe Clayton is saying maybe she's not used to it. She said you remember teaching sophomores, but these seem like they're sophomores. We'll see. What else? Someone was unmuting and saying something. What else? Come on, guys. What is, why is she saying this?
She's in shock.
Okay. So now we're getting a little somewhere. She's in shock, sure. She's saying this because she's in shock. So Shaya, you're doing the same thing as the other ones. You're telling me what's in the document. But why is she saying it? What's the purpose of her saying this?
Maybe because she believes that this year won't be good for us because she says this bodes ill for the rest of the year. So she's saying because of her first experience with them, she personally believes this year won't be a good year for like history or history in general for these students particularly.
Okay, so maybe she's a little worried. Okay, shocked, worried. Maybe she is worried. You were saying something, Julie? Okay, think beyond about what is in the document. Okay, why is she saying this in the way that she's saying this to him? What is she's hoping to express worry? Is she looking for something like maybe she's looking validation for her opinions? What do they think? What do they see? What were you saying? Okay. So, and we have anything else? If the teachers went through the same thing, maybe she's trying to find out if they went through the same thing. Now we're getting beyond, now we're getting to some of the purposes here.
To share her experience.
Share her experience, compare it to the other teacher's day. Now we're talking. You guys are getting it now, okay? Now that we're on a roll with those kind of things. It's not what's in the document, it's the purpose of it. Let's see. Let me ask you a few questions. You know what? Let's continue. And keep answering the same question. It seems like you guys are having a hard time at first. You're starting to catch on. Why are they saying what they did? Here is the response from Mr. Peak, a longtime world history teacher, in a conversation with Kate Naka, his teaching partner, as they are leaving Bel Air High School at the end of the first day of the new school year. This is the conversation now. Same question. Why is he saying what she did?
He's trying not to make the teacher lose hope.
Okay, so he's trying to make Kate not lose hope.
He's validating her feelings while also giving her a positive perspective or like future.
Okay, so trying to switch it around a little bit, trying to give her a positive direction from it. Julia, what'd you say? Yeah. So he was saying that the purpose of it is you cheer them up, make her feel better about the situation. Sure. So do you see how they're not telling me now what's in the document? I don't care what's in the document. What's the purpose? Why are they saying what they did? And it's the motivation behind it, right? That is where we get into analysis. Okay, where it's not just, what's in the document, it's what kind of information can we infer from a document? What is the a motivation behind it? For instance, let me ask you guys another question. Let's go back up to Kate. This is what form of communication? This first document.
Email.
It's an email. Would the way she's saying it change if it was something else? What if this was a text message? Would it change? Like the way she's saying it?
It probably wouldn't be as formal.
Okay, maybe because it's a text message, maybe it'd be less formal. You think you'd say the same thing for like a conversation, Rakaya? No, you think it'd be more formal or less formal?
Less formal.
Less formal?
Because if you're having a conversation with somebody, you're not going to be like, what a day, like you wouldn't use these specific things that could kind of, okay, because I feel like what a day is kind of actually expressing her tone, because if she was saying it verbally, I feel like he'd be able to feel her emotion through her words she's saying because he's in her face. If it's an email, it's not really a way to express tone through text unless you're using certain words or like exclamation marks and things like that to kind of convey your tone.
Very true, Rakaya, very true and
And she
excellent.
used immature and he used weak.
What was that?
She said immature and he said weak. So those two words are.
Oh, are you talking about he said those words or she?
I'm saying they used like different words
True,
to
true. Come
describe
on.
the students.
True.
Or maybe it's like a person thing because you're asking us, would it be different if it was like a conversation or email? But maybe that's just how she talks, or that's just the language that she uses. Because, like Favor said, his words seem more like a direct but at the student, and her words seem like she's saying immature. And I feel like she's not really blaming them. She's saying, oh, they're immature because they're not as good as probably the last class or the classes of generations they had before. He's just saying they're weak. So maybe it wouldn't be more formal. Maybe that's just who she is.
Well, there's a reason why you guys are seeing a change in the language, though, right? What is the second one? The second one's a conversation. Thank you. So you can see the difference in the language right there. So like, hey, they're not, they're not immature and stuff like that. They're just a little weak. They got your young minds. Yes. So what Miss Clayton over there is bringing up another good point. Look at the people who we're talking about. So we already looked at the way they're communicating. Look at the people now. And she's bringing up a great point here. He says a long time AP World teacher. This is an experienced teacher. So maybe that is causing them to have a difference in perspective. So maybe we're looking at this differently because they're looking at it through different eyes. And you know what? This is something you guys are used to, right? Like when you first get into middle school and stuff like that, I guess you have a certain perspective of things, but then by 8th grade, you're like, oh, I want to get out of here. I want to go to high school. But in 6th grade, you're like, oh, I'm in middle school. All these little kids in 5th grade. So perspective matters, right? So now you guys are getting into analysis. You're right there. You're on the level of analysis. You know what another thing would be? What if this was changed? Would the person who, let's go to Kate Naka. If this was an email to her principal, would this be different? Yeah? Maybe?
Definitely.
Favors like definitely, yeah, be different, maybe use different words. So the language would change in it, wouldn't it? It's the same way like when you guys are like kind of talking to your parents, you probably talk to your parents a certain way and your friends a completely different other way, right? That's analysis. It's looking at the source of a document, which Veronica started, before we did. And she's like, look at the source. Who is saying this? Maybe that matters. And she's correct. The source of the information matters. The audience on who it's intended to matters. If I'm talking to you guys, I'm going to speak differently than I would to a room full of teachers or a room full of principals, or a group full of younger kids. There's always going to be a difference. This is analysis, and you guys seem to be picking up on this, which is good. Let's just drive this point home. Let's look at Sarah Mickelson. Same day, it's the same event, first day of school. All right, she's a sophomore student at Bel Air who has always been considered an A student. In a text message to her friend Lindsay about her first AP World History class. Forgive me, guys, this example is dated. I know people don't use those terms anymore. So what do you guys think about this? Why is she saying what she's saying? I'm gonna check the chat. You guys could unmute. What was that? She don't like a teacher, work on the first day of school. That's what's in there, but why is she saying what she's saying?
She's not used to that.
He's not used to that. You can infer that.
And because of the audience, because she wouldn't say this to an actual teacher, is because it's a message to her friend.
Okay, yeah, it's text message to her friend, so that's gonna obviously change what she's saying, how she's saying it. So what is she looking for her friend to do, hopefully?
Agree.
Was that maybe agree with her or something like that? Cheer up. Maybe she's looking for help. But that's the thing. We have to infer these things. We're looking at this. Why is she saying what she did? Maybe she's not used to work on the first day of school. Maybe she's saying it because she's intimidated. Let's look at the same thing from another student, different perspective. Andrew Flores, an AP World History student at Bel Air High School, in a letter to his grandfather, who's a professor of mathematics at Harvard University. Harvard. All right, so why is he saying it the way he's saying it?
He's probably trying to impress his grandfather.
Oh, there we go. Great one right off the bat. He's trying to impress his grandfather.
And that
Nice.
man is going to in Harvard? Huh. I wouldn't either.
Dang, for real. I thought he was just genuinely happy.
Hold on one second. Go ahead. Ooh, maybe he's trying to show his grandfather that he's responsible. Nice. Go ahead, Rakaya.
No, I was just saying, I felt like he was just genuinely happy Because because I feel like I can infer that because of who his grandfather is, I feel like he's probably been in the educational environment for a long time and this is something that he's happy with. And he can just be like, oh, well, I'm actually really excited for this and I can believe him because
But who's happy about homework on the first day of school?
a lot of people like enjoy school. And this, he said it was he didn't say that it was his first time getting homework on the first day of school. He said she was the only person who assigned homework on the first day. So this doesn't mean automatically that this could have been something new for him. He probably could have been used to this and it happened before. So it wasn't really a big deal to him. He was just happy with it. And he's like, okay, I like this class so far.
And he kind of said it that that's like an indication this class will help prepare me well for college. So it seems like he is, expectant of it, and maybe he's ready for that challenge. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You guys are doing pretty well so far at this analysis side of things. It's not just taking what's in the document, it's looking beyond it. And it's saying, well, if this changes, like again, what if would this be as formal if this was to his friends?
No.
No.
And he may say things differently, right? Because sourcing matters, audience matters. So this is what I need you guys to realize. If you can see this with examples like this, you can do this with historical documents too. Just switch it up a little bit. Imagine this. One of the examples that you probably hear later is like a politician, but he goes through it kind of quick. Think about a politician. If he's speaking to the news, like a senator, he's going to say something and you may or may not trust him, right? But then when, like, let's say there was a document that says, hey, this is a news report and a senator. This is what he said. But then in a letter to a close friend of his, he says something different. He says, no, I really don't believe that stuff. I'm going to vote this way. Which one of those sources are you going to believe? Probably the private letter, right?
Yeah. Because you would express your opinion to your friends and not be lying to them.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, perfect point. So this is what analysis is all about. You're analyzing sources of information. You're analyzing the point of view, the historical situation, the audience, the purpose of what they're saying. That is analysis. And let me show you how we do it here in history now. Great job so far, y'all. If you go to the website, I know you guys are like, oh, his website again. Yay. And you go to the writing section on the website, there's a couple of handouts that will help you at least understand how we break things down for these DBQs. I love the internet here. It's so great. So in the DBQ files where you've gotten, all the stuff so far with DBQs are going to be located here. You come down, there are files that are called things like, let's see, where is it? Like HIPP, writing stem, HIPP right over here. Anything with sourcing or analysis. What it is it shows you things like this. And this is how you are going to source or analyze these documents. Same thing. Source and analyze, same thing. All right. You're going to break them down in one of four ways. You do not need to do all four ways in order to source a document or to get credit for a document. Okay. You only have to do one. The acronym is called HIPP or HAPP. Now, I'd write it right here, but you know what? Let's see if I can draw backwards. Because if I write it this way, it's gonna look weird. So let's see if I can write backwards. Go away. See if we can do this. H. Oh, geez. Oh, get out. Oh no, does it say PIA?
It's backwards. Oh my gosh, it's backwards, sir.
Oh, it looks like, wait, are you really?
Kupaha, yeah, it's backwards.
Dang.
Like the letters are backwards and the form is backwards. Like we see PP.
Yeah. Whatever it is, what you need to look for is, it's called HIPP. Okay, HIPP or HAPP. Basically, when you are sourcing for either historical context, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to use this one for now because I don't want to write on the board. We are writing with historical context, intended audience, purpose, or point of view. Let me go ahead and break these down for you a little bit more than just that. Now, historical context, you are looking at when the document was created. All right. Who created the source? What do we know about the author? Which is what Veronica started doing when she was looking at the teachers. You know, who's more experienced? Who's got more time? You know, intended audience. We can always break down a document and analyze it via intended audience. You know, who was the source created for? Was it a text message for a friend? Or was it a letter to a grandfather? That matters. The point of view, you know, what is the point they're trying to convey? Does the gender, does the economic status, political persuasion, social background, does that matter for the source of a document? For instance, a king saying something is different than a peasant saying something. Or a teacher saying something is different than a principal saying something. The source of the information matters. Different experiences, levels of education, rankings, different levels of power, influence. Yeah, that's all true. And finally, the last way you could do it is purpose. You know, why was this source produced? What's the point of this source? Think about the emails that was sent between Naka and Pete, Kate Naka and Pete. She was trying to vent, and he was trying to help her. You know, the purpose of a document. That is how we break this down. H, A, or I. You could do intended audience or audience. P, P. Historical context, intended audience, point of view, and purpose. That's how we break down these documents. And you could even verify this just in case you were like, well, where does it say this for, you know, College Board? It's the, oh wait, this is the wrong one. That's the, sorry, I wanted to show you the rubric again, just to show you this aligns perfectly in the rubric, and you only have to do one. To get that analysis point right here, for at least 3 of those documents, you'll have to analyze or explain how or why the document's point of view, purpose, historical situation, or excuse me, audience is relevant to an argument. Don't have to do all 4 to get the analysis point. You can do historical context for 3 documents and be good. You could do historical context for 1 document, purpose for another document, and audience for another one, and you're going to get the point. But the point of it is, you got to do it for 3 documents. You must analyze them using HIPP, HAPP. HAPP is the same thing. So HIPP is historical context, intended audience. HIPP is right here. But HAPP is just the same thing, just drop the intended. Who's the audience? Same thing. HIPP and HAPP, same exact thing. So what I want to do right now, before I start showing you how we do this with historical documents, I want somebody else to show you this in another way. And because of that, let me go ahead and go to this part of my website. Now, I've showed you this before, but let me show you how to get there again. This is a part of my website where I made specifically to help review everything in the course. You know this, it's in the AP World section. Go to AP Exam Review. All right, this is literally all my games, all the review, PowerPoints, everything. You're going to come down past all the information, and you're going to come to a section that's called Help Me Heimler. All right, and I've taken a lot of videos and strategically placed them to where it's going to be helpful. By the way, yeah, he knows me. He gave Miramar High School a shout out. I had emailed him when we were going through the pandemic last year, like when we first got off and we were going through all that stuff and said, like, hey, how are we going to test everything? And I was like, hey, you want to shout out my kids? Yeah, sure. He's like, I don't believe you. Play it. Let me share the screen, optimize your video clip.
Hey guys, this is a quick shout out to the AP World History class at Miramar High School. And apparently y'all are all 9th graders doing this class rather than 10th or 11th graders. I mean, that's pretty astonishing. I mean, this is an extraordinarily difficult class for 9th graders. And I hope y'all are just killing it. Anyway, I know it's all uncertain right now. Everything's up in the air. We don't know what's happening or how long it's going to last or anything like that. But just wanted to stop in, say hello, do my part to hopefully lift your spirits. Anyway, keep fighting the good fight. And if there's anything I can do to help y'all, you just let me know. All right, bye.
Damn, just saying. Your teacher knows people. Yeah, he was a really nice guy. But I digress. Sorry. No, he don't know me. He knows my email. All right. So the Dbq process, I made a whole series basically of his videos and breaking them down. I put my own personal process for the Dbq, but if you look, he broke down the Dbq for you guys last year. Now, this is where I want to make sure I show you guys this. In the beginning of his videos, he's referencing a different rubric because last year, when we did this, they had made a different rubric for the kids to follow for the Dbq at home. So I'll point that out when we get there. But this video is about sourcing documents. Sourcing is the same thing as analyzing. We're gonna watch this quick video. I'll pause it at certain points to kind of give a little bit of more info. And then we'll go on to actually starting to work on the assignment.
Well, howdy and welcome back to Heimler's History. So in the last couple of videos, I've been answering questions I've been seeing a lot in my comments, and one of the most frequent is this: how in the world do I source my documents? And if you're struggling with this, you are not alone, because this is typically one of the most difficult things to do on a DBQ. So if you're one of those people who's struggling, I'm going to do my best to help you in this video to learn what it is, how to do it, and some strategy for how to do it in the compressed time frame that we have this year. Okay, now on the rubric for this year, you can get up to 2 points for sourcing 2 documents. If you source 1 document, you get 1 point. If you source 2 documents, you get 2 points. And there are 4 skills that you can perform.
So that's that inaccurate part of the video I was telling you guys about. It was a different rubric. You can get 1 point for sourcing 3 documents. Okay, so 3 out of the 7, if you source them, you'll get 1 point.
Form on each of those documents in order to count for sourcing. And in order to remember it, think of HAPP, or some people say HIPP, but it's the same thing. H means to source for historical situation or historical context. I or A means to source for audience or intended audience. P means to source for purpose, and the second P means to source for point of view. Now, to be clear, when you take 1 document and you attempt to source it, you only have to choose one of those 4 things to source that document with. In other words, you don't have to take that document and run it through H and run it through A and run it through P and run it through P. You just choose choose whichever one makes the most sense and use that skill to source that document. So let's talk about what each of those four things means. To source for historical situation means to take this document and put it in its larger historical context. So if you've got a document that's describing textile production in England in the 1800s, your sourcing could be historical situation, which is to say this document fits within the Industrial Revolution. That's the larger historical context of textile production in England in the 1800s. Now, the way I just said it, that's not going to earn you the point. We'll get to what would earn you the point later. To source for audience, you need to show how the audience of that particular document matters to the interpretation of the document. And the example I always use is a politician. Suppose you've got two documents. And document A is a speech at a political rally, and he says, I believe X about such and such an issue. But document B is a personal letter that he writes to a friend of his. And in that letter, he actually contradicts himself and says, no, I actually believe Y about such and such an issue. Here he believes X, here he believes Y. And if you're trying to get to what does that politician actually believe, then it's going to be very helpful to know what the audience is for each of those two documents, because he is more likely to tell the truth, we would think, in a personal letter to a friend. Okay, so that's source.
That makes sense, right, guys? Y'all follow him there, because I made sure to say it beforehand so you heard it twice, because I kind of think audience can be one of the easier ones to do, like historical context and audience I feel are some of the easiest ones, as well as purpose. Point of view is probably the hardest one, but he'll get to that. I just want to make sure you guys are paying attention there, because you guys actually use this all the time. When you know your audience, you know what you can say and how it's going to be received. All right, and that's a big deal. So because you guys use this more often than not, just in your daily life between parents and teachers and principals and whatever, I feel you guys can use this maybe more so than other ones. Okay, so I just wanted to pause and say that.
Sourcing for audience. Now let's talk about sourcing for purpose. If you're going to source a document for purpose, you need to answer the question, what was this document intended to do? So for example, if you have an excerpt from Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, then the content of that document and its purpose are similar but not the same. The content is about how white people and black people should be equal in America. But the purpose of that speech is to show the powers that be in Washington that they will not rest until legislation is passed on their behalf. Okay, now let's talk about.
And that easy way to understand that, just go back to what we did with Kate Naka and Chris P. The inside of the email is her complaining and saying, oh, they're weak, oh my God. But you know, the purpose of it is for her to seek out somebody to commiserate with, somebody to look at and be like, hey, you're going through the same thing. I'm kind of reaching out for help, or she's venting, you know? So that would be more of a purpose than just saying, oh, this is an email complaining. No, that's what's in the document. What's the purpose of it? Got to go deeper.
Point of view, and arguably this is the most difficult one. Don't confuse historical point of view with literary point of view. In literature, point of view means it's first person, second person, third person. It's who's talking. That is not what it means in history. In historical writing, point of view means many things, but to me the clearest way to describe it is bias. Sourcing for point of view is answering the question, why does he or she say what he or she says in the way that he or she says it. And as I've said many times before, the special sauce of point of view is right there in that phrase, in the way that he or she says it. Okay, so those are the 4 skills you can use to source any given document. And let me give you some advice on what I think you should do, and let me show you how they can potentially go wrong. In my experience as a reader, the skill that most often earns the point is historical situation. So that tells me it may be the most intuitive and perhaps the easiest one to do. That's taking your document, putting it in a larger historical context, name something specific, drop a vocabulary word in there, and then explain why that's significant to the interpretation of the document. On the other end of the scale, point of view is the one that is most often missed. So if you're watching this video and you're one of the ones who can't figure out sourcing, I would say leave off point of view, don't even worry about it. And I would say audience and purpose are a little more difficult than historical situation, only because students often miss those more than they miss the historical situation sourcing point. The reason people often miss the point for audience is because they think if they just talk about to whom this is written, that's the audience. But remember, when you're sourcing, you have to talk about why that particular audience is significant to the interpretation of the document. And sometimes the audience is actually given to you in those couple of sentences above the document where it tells you where the document come from. He's like, this is a speech to Congress. And so somebody will source for audience and say, this was a speech given to Congress, and they'll be like, nailed it. But that will not get the point. You need to explain why it's significant that the speech was given to Congress and not to somebody else. Now, if somebody's going to miss the purpose sourcing skills.
So you guys follow him when he says that. It's not just saying, hey, this is an email to a coworker. Yeah, we get that. The coworker is the audience. but what does that matter? How does that change the document? How does it help you interpret the document? For instance, you may say something, you know, in this email to a coworker, the coworker, he or she says this in the way they do because it's a coworker. If this was somebody else, or if the audience was different, it may change the language of it. And as far as my art, and then you would tie it into your argument. Okay, so you need to make sure that you not only just say the audience, but say why that is important.
It's because they're confusing the content of the document with the purpose of the document. So go back to the I have a dream speech. Somebody will say the purpose of this document was to show that white people and black people should be equal. No, that's the content of the document. The purpose of the document is something different. What was that document intended to do? Now that's the best I think I can do in explaining how to source a document. But I don't want to leave until I've given you some really practical tips on how to put this into practice. So what I want to show you now is a document that has templates for your sourcing sentences. And I cannot claim credit on this. This was put together by the magnificent Rachel Carr, and for permission to use it, I thank her. And to me, if you're struggling with this will help get your analysis juices flowing. Okay, if you're going to source for historical context, you could begin that sentence like this. During this time, at the time this document was written.
You guys all know what writing stems are, right? From your classes, I'm assuming language arts have told you this.
Yeah.
Writing stems. It's kind of like just intelligent ways to start sentences and stuff, make you sound good. Well, that's what this is. This next whole section, and then I'll show you what I did with it, is just writing stems. So if you're going to source for historical context, you would start off the sentence with something like this.
This was an era of ... etc., etc. If you're sourcing for audience, you could say, this document was aimed at, or the author was reaching out to, etc., etc. If you're sourcing for purpose, you can say the reason.
Somebody have a question? Somebody have a question or no? Oh, I thought I saw the mic.
For this document is, or the author's intention was to, etc. Or if you're sourcing for point of view, you can say from the author's perspective, or the author believed that, or the author felt that, or considering that the author was a blank, they would likely feel blank, etc. Now, I think those are magnificent, and if you're struggling with sourcing, those are some very concrete things that you can grab onto and use. So I really hope that was.
So what I did with those stems, I put them beside the video. So if you ever want to see what is in his video without actually having to go into it, I put the writing stems on the side. I then took it one step further, found another one that we can use right here. I kind of showed you this before. All these are ways you can kind of start sentences, use them for writing stems to help you with this analysis when you actually start working on analyzing documents. Okay. Dang. You should say thank you. I'm just kidding. It's my job.
Thank you.
It's my job. It's my job to do
You have time on your hands.
I used to have time on my hands. Have 2 kids and call me later. Okay, so these are writing stems that we could use. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you your assignment. First, let me show you how to get there. As usual, I'm always going to do this, and I promise I will send out a remind as well, like I always do. All right, here is, well, not always. I think I've missed a few. Sorry. Got to speak accurately. If you go to, here we go. You've seen this before. You know where it's at. Go to Dbq Skills Practice. We're going to click on it. It's going to open up the Google Drive where I've got all of my good stuff for you guys. And it's right there. Dbq Practice Day 4 Document Analysis. All right. Double click. It will open up for you in a new window. And you will see an assignment much like you guys just turned into me not too long ago. Now we're going to change this assignment right now. So I hope you guys are paying attention because some of y'all are going to miss this and you're going to do more work than you have to. Dbq Practice Day 4, Document Analysis. And I will send that out once again on Remind, probably end of today or beginning of tomorrow at some point. So the directions and the example is going to go into a format where they're giving you an argument or a topic sentence describing the document and making an argument, and then comes the analysis, which is in pink. That's what you're going to see with the example. Okay, I do not want you to do the topic sentence that makes an argument or describing the document. All I want you to do is to be able to analyze. Okay, so when you see, the practice section, which is down here, you'll see the prompt and you'll see the document. I don't want you to make an argument and summarize and then put the analysis. So you'll choose, historical context or intended audience, purpose, point of view, and analyze this, okay? You're only going to put the analysis, okay? So you're not doing the argument. You're not taking the document and telling me what's in there. You are just doing the analysis. Is that a hand? Okay. And Verkaya, yes, we're going to do the example and we'll do number 1 together, which leaves you only with 3 to do for homework. You mean like historical context, point of view? Oh, okay. Like, okay, so the thing is, I'm trying to skip around the answer so we could do the example together. But basically, the answer that they give you in here for the example, much like we did with the first one, the pink is where you see the analysis part. And that's all I want you guys to do. You're not making the argument. You're not telling me what's in the document. You are just analyzing. And you can choose which one you want to do. Yeah, you could choose. Yeah, you choose each one. So you're going to look at each of the documents, and some of them, you're going to be like, it looks like this one would be easier if I do it with purpose. So you analyze it with purpose, all right, which is, again, you can go back into you go into here and you find whichever one works the best for you. If you like this one, great. My last class said they liked this one best because it was simpler and it had color. All right, so it's the same thing. Purpose, point of view, audience, historical situation. So you choose one of these and answer the questions for the document. No, you don't have to choose a different one every time. You do not. You can choose the same one over and over again. However, some documents are easier to do with historical situation. Some documents are easier to do with audience. You know what I mean? Like, the documents kind of show you a little bit, like, this is easier if I just analyze it with audience versus that or another thing. So this is something that we can use. Again, this is titled Sourcing Poster. You can find that right here, Sourcing Poster. All right, so that all the handouts are here for you. Y'all want to give the example a shot together? Don't all say yes at once. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting some yeses. Open up the thing. Okay, so we need to get to the document. Here we go. Don't cheat. Here we go. Here's the document that we are going to be analyzing. Sorry, Bell. Charles Morris, American lawyer, former banker, and author. This is a commentary on the U.S. government-supported infrastructure. Commentary on U.S. government-supported infrastructure projects in this article. Bridges to somewhere. Infrastructure is always a good investment. That's the title. So there's our source. And remember, with analysis, sourcing, the source matters. So keep that in mind as you read this document. Oh, shoot. Rakaya, I apologize. Everybody, I apologize. It looks like I shared the screen, but I forgot to take it off of the video mode. Excuse me, this should be much better. Is that better? Yeah, no. Okay, all right. Sorry about
Way
that,
better.
y'all. My bad. My bad. All right, so some of you might be done reading it. What you want to do is once you're done reading it is look at one of those things again, come back to the sourcing poster and be like, how do I want to analyze this? Do I want to use purpose or point of view or audience or historical situation? Come back to the assignment and see what's going to work best for you in this. How are we going to analyze it? You're only choosing one. Now, for those of you that are, looking at me like I got three heads, would it be easier if I showed you what I did first for this first one? That'll help a little bit. Yeah, not yet. All right, not yet. I'm not going to do anything yet then. Give you guys a shot. You can put it in the chat. You could type it on your own word. You could unmute and say it. Raise your hand, I guess. What's up, Miss Clayton? Well, yeah, you're analyzing it based upon what you think is going to be best for this. So when I'm looking at this document, I'm like, I'm not sure if I like using historical situation. 2013, I can look at all those things. I guess I can do it, but I'm not sure I know too much about this. Maybe I'll skip that. Maybe I can use purpose because this guy is he's a lawyer, he's a former banker, author, so he's probably got some money, or at least works with people who have money. All right. And it's saying bridges to somewhere. Infrastructure is always a good investment. And as I'm reading this, it looks like he is very much, he's definitely pro infrastructure. He wants these things to be built. All right, he wants this to happen. That's okay. But now let's go one step deeper. What does that mean? If we're looking at him and we're looking at what he's saying, yes, sir. Well, no one buys infrastructure. Maybe he's trying to convince people like the government or businesses to do what? Maybe invest more in infrastructure or build more infrastructure. Now, why would he want to do that? Why would he want people to build infrastructure and stuff like that? He's obviously pro-infrastructure. Why would he want that to happen? Well, come on, think about it. If you're, go ahead. You were saying what before? For the money. Like, he's a banker and lawyer. Maybe that means he's tied into industrialization somehow. That's maybe why he's saying, hey, do this. It's the motivation behind it. Remember that, guys. It's not what's in there. Maybe he seeks to benefit from the building of industrialization, of infrastructure. Maybe he can benefit somehow. Now we're looking a little bit. All right. That's analysis, guys. Let me show you my answer. And I got to zoom in a little bit here. So forgive me. Remember, okay, yes, but remember, I told you you're not doing all of it. Remember, you're only doing that answer? Yes. Remember, you're only doing the analysis. The pink. Like it says up here, the analysis is in pink for the example. This is the only thing we're looking at. You're not doing making a, oh, sorry, that was bad. This is my analysis. Interestingly, the author of document 7 is a former banker and lawyer and titles the paper where document 7 comes from, infrastructure is always a good thing. As a former banker indicated by this industrialization positive title, the author is likely only focusing on the positive effects of industrialization in this piece as it relates to the generating of more money for businesses, banks, and wealthy people like him. This makes me wonder how many negative environmental effects he may have overlooked to only focus on these positives. You saw that. I think everybody just saw that. But that's where I'm looking at these documents. I'm like, oh, I think it's point of view. I used point of view. It's just going deeper. The deeper you can go with your analysis, I'm not saying you got to write a book on it, but the better. It shows that you are able to fully analyze this document. You can choose any one of them. So I think this is kind of caught between point of view and purpose. You know? So did you guys follow that example? Because it seems like in the classroom they followed it a little bit. Khalil looks a little worried. It's okay if you didn't. This is our first time doing it. Remember, just like I've said every time, this is a skill. We got to practice. How about you guys out in the internets? Yes. The interwebs. Are we feeling a little better after one example? Do we want to do another one? Yeah, it seems like a few people want me to do another one. So I'll do at least one more if you guys say. So is that a yes from anybody in here? Yeah? Okay. So a few people in here are all saying yes too. So let's go ahead. Let's go to the first one. All right. Here is the first one. Here's the document. Remember, we're not making the argument. We're not telling what's in the document. You have to choose which way you want to analyze this document or to source it. Go ahead. This is Hannah Richards, a British worker, from her testimonial before the Ashley Committee on the Conditions in Mines, 1842. All this information is important, guys. Notice I emphasized her. Okay, 1842. The Ashley Committee was a parliamentary committee investigating the abuses in the coal industry. So Rakaya, you want to do this doing point of view. Remember, point of view is one of the harder ones.
You
I mean,
remember when you put up the little sentence subs or whatever you said? How do you start a sentence? Like
this right
that?
here?
No, the subs that you actually can use to start off a sentence.
Oh, the writing stems.
Yes.
Yeah, this is called HIPP writing stems. It's on the right here in the DBQ files, HIPP writing stems. Yeah, of course, write it, yeah.
Can you go down a little bit?
We'll zoom out a little bit. Is that too much?
So from the text. Okay, so point of view, I'm not sure, but I could probably say that the author may present a biased point of view because she does have children that do work and they've been working before they were 11 or 12 years old, and she personally hasn't seen any effects on their health, but it doesn't make a clear point that working before these ages doesn't affect children because it's just her children. Basically, I'm basically trying to say her children haven't had these effects in their health or in their education specifically, but it doesn't mean it can't affect other children as a whole. So her viewpoint is biased in the fact that children should be able to work in factories before the ages of 11 or 12 over their education.
Okay, I like where you went with that. I disagree with you, but I like how you analyzed it. And it's not disagreeing with what you're saying, it's disagreeing that you got to look, I think, a little deeper.
Deeper how? Like deeper, like in terms of like
Oh,
what you
hold on
don't.
1 second, actually. Can you unmute then? What you're gonna say? Oh, the thing is, I don't want to just relay your words. I want you to say it. Let me know when you're ready. All right.
I feel as though like she's trying to persuade the committee for like kids under the age to maintain their job because like it's not like easy to find sources of income over there, and like they need every like little thing they could get. So I feel as though like that's why, and she don't really see no change with their kids either.
Basically, like trying to keep the job that they have because if she doesn't, they're not going to make enough money for where they live and stuff like that.
You see what I'm saying there? That's kind of the way I was feeling, because I'm looking at the document and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, we know historical situation. I used historical situation for myself, and I'm looking at this. We know that working in the coal mines was a terrible, terrible thing. We know this. That's from all the history. That's from everything we've learned. This is where outside knowledge comes in. This woman, she's before this big committee. She stands to lose something, doesn't she? She might lose those jobs. Okay? She needs, it seems like, and look at this. Look at the last line. Because, oh wait, I'm gonna go put it back on the screen. It would hurt us if children were prevented from working till 11 or 12 years old because we've not jobs enough as it to live now as it is. So in a way, you guys are correct. The two gentlemen right here, Psalm and Jude, because this woman is saying like, hey, yeah, he likes it pretty well. He'd rather be in the pit than go to school. There's not much difference in his health. He can read pretty well. He can't write though. You know, she's kind of downplaying, it seems like, working in this coal mine because she doesn't want the committee to close it down. Because what if they put all these rules and restrictions in place? That means they won't have any jobs. Does that make sense for Kaya? Like where they went a little deeper? How about everybody else?
Honestly,
Shia. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I said honestly no.
Honestly, no. Okay, it's okay.
No, because I feel like, I mean, because you said you don't agree, but I feel like the background knowledge, we know that working there wasn't good, like at all. But I feel like the direction they went in was basically saying that, I mean, it wasn't good, but it was a benefit for all. I feel like, but we already know it wasn't good. So why is mine's thing? Like, I don't get it. Like, okay, so we know the background knowledge is okay, it was not good to work in these coal mines. It did affect them in a certain type of way. And we know that this mother is downplaying it because she needs the money and everyone else needs money to support their families because they don't have enough at this point in time.
Yes, and then that's what I was saying. I was just, the only reason I said disagree to you is because I think, like you were saying, like, oh, she's saying like, yeah, there's not really that big a deal for them to work in there. I think she's lying. Yeah, she's clearly, yeah, and she's making sure her answers downplay what's happening in the mines so she can keep the jobs for her kids because her family needs the money.
Okay, I get it now. I didn't get it before, but I get it now.
It's all good. It's all good.
Or was that our last one? Are we gonna do more examples?
Well, I'm not gonna do right now. I want you guys to try to do some on your own. There's only three more on this assignment. So what I want you to do is try to do, 2, 3, 4, and then we will go over these on Friday, no matter what. We're gonna go over them in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Yeah, same. You're gonna email it to me the same way we did the other one. Okay. You could print this out. You could write on it. You can type it in there and then email it to me. All the same thing. Okay. But that's the full assignment. Like you really only have 3 to do. And that's why, like, I have no problem doing this middle of the week and it's still due on Friday, no big deal. You could be able to get this done like by the end of class because we're good here. Like, I don't want to just give you guys all the answers and go over right now. I want you guys to try to do this now for yourself.